Good afternoon, everybody. Audience participation. Hi. All right. So my name is Wayne Beaton. I'm the Director of Open Source Projects at the Eclipse Foundation. I am a committer on a bunch of things, contributor for a bunch of things, and I'm basically the project mentor on everything.
And my name is Olivier Prouvost. I am an Eclipse trainer and consultant, and I'm a committer on several projects also.
So we have some various roles in here. I guess before we begin, actually, who here in the room is already a committer? Okay, seriously? Why are you here? Has anybody here contributed a patch that's not a committer, contributed a patch to an Eclipse project? Of those people, your hands up, how many of those patches have actually been accepted? Oh, had a patch accepted. Okay, excellent, that's good. How many people have ever filed a Bugzilla report or an issue against a GitHub project for the Eclipse Foundation? All right, cool. All right, good. Okay, excellent. Actually, it's always good to see so many hands not go up when I ask that question. It's awesome that so many people have been using an Eclipse software without ever encountering a problem. Is this thing on? All right. Okay, so contributors, lots of things you can do just as a contributor, and somebody new to the project: open up bugs, answer questions, submit patches. Those are all great services to a project. Just opening the bug, making sure that the project team is aware of an issue is very valuable. Committers do all sorts of things. They also open bugs. They answer questions, but triaging bugs, all those sorts of that sort of thing. One of their main roles, in addition to actually writing content, is to review and accept contributions from people in the community, such as yourself. So we consider that an important part of being a committer at the Eclipse Foundation and in an Eclipse project. That and communicating with our community. It's openness and transparency are really important aspects of being an Eclipse project. Do you want to add something? Or? No, okay, keep going. Giddy up. So I include this graphic because a lot of people don't quite get what goes into the Eclipse IDE. The Eclipse IDE is basically a product, and that product is the result of several different development teams working together. Much of what we think of when we look at the Eclipse Java IDE, for example, is produced by the Eclipse top-level project and the Java Development Tools project in particular, but there's also the platform project, which provides a lot of the goodness. Now, if you use Git integration, I'm assuming a few people use Git integration, show of hands. Okay, I'm just trying to keep track of who's not putting up their hands at all. Anyway, Git integration comes from two projects, the eGit project and the JGit project. They're different project teams, and they have different Git repositories of their own. They have a separate build. And again, there's a handful of other projects that are similar. These projects all collaborate. They work independently, but they collaborate together through what we call the simultaneous release. The simultaneous release is basically an alignment of development schedules and communication, cross-project communication. So we go through what previously it had been year-long release cycles. We are now doing 3-month release cycles, 4 release cycles a year, which is basically a fantastic undertaking. Again, the level of communication that has to happen between these teams is important. Now, why this is important to somebody who might want to contribute to Eclipse is sometimes finding the source code is a little challenging. In order to contribute to an Eclipse project, we need you to sign a contributor agreement. One of the interesting things about Eclipse, this is not entirely unique, but it's relatively unique. Anyway, if you contribute content to an Eclipse project, you own that content, and you continue to own that content once it's been contributed to the Eclipse Foundation. We used to call this a CLA. CLAs tend to assign ownership of content to somebody. The Eclipse Foundation actually owns only content written by people like me who are employed by the Eclipse Foundation. So Anyway, so when you contribute to an Eclipse project, we need to make sure that the content that you own is actually owned by you. So the Eclipse Contributor Agreement is basically the Linux DCO, which is your way of stating the content that you're providing was written by you. You have the rights to contribute it to this open source project under the terms of the license specified by the project. And it basically becomes a public record of your contribution. We do actually sometimes get questions like, can we anonymously contribute to your project? And unfortunately, the answer is no. If you contribute to our project, we need to know about you. The content that you produce is owned by you, or frankly, more likely your employer. And we need to make sure that we have rights to it. And we need to be able to demonstrate that should we ever be challenged. So, did you want to talk about no, I'll keep going. I'm on it. All right, I got this. Okay, yeah. So he's going to do the demo. I'm going to do all the talking. We actually decided that before we started, and I don't know. I decided I'd hedge a little bit. Anyway, carrying on. If you're going to be doing development, particularly on platform JDT, the core projects that make up the Eclipse, what we think of as Eclipse IDE, there are some instructions here. If you go to the wiki, there's a how to contribute guide there, and it provides very detailed instructions. There's some other options for other Eclipse projects. You can use the advanced mode installer. There's something called oomph, which has, if you go to advanced mode in the Eclipse installer, there's ways to actually get the development environments for many of the projects. And the nice thing about oomph is it will configure a complete development environment for you, which includes all the Git repositories that you require. That's one route to go. So if you're thinking about contributing to the team support for Git providers, team provider for Git project, that might be a route to go, for example. But again, that wiki entry there is you're basically the right way, or the best place to go. I'm going to show you though. There's sort of some quick and dirty ways that you can quickly get started. I wouldn't recommend these as long-term solutions, but if you just want to find out if you're up to the task, this is sort of the quick and dirty way to get it done. You can download one of our developer builds, and we've got a screenshot here of our download page. And when this opens, it opens up on the Eclipse installer, but you can switch over to the packages. What we would like you to do, though, is switch over to the Eclipse developer builds. The developer builds are the latest milestone builds of the various products, and grab the Eclipse IDE for Eclipse committers. One of the very cool things about the Eclipse IDE for Eclipse committers and the SDK is it actually comes with all of the source code. So you can use these products to debug the product, which is kind of weird and meta. Anyway, very cool. The other option, one of the challenges with the milestone builds or the developer builds is that they become stale over time. As you get further away from the time of the milestone, the code is being changed by the development team, so there's a danger that you will wind up out of sync with them. If you want to be closer to the latest version of everything, the latest integration builds are available from that URL. And then when you launch from a new workspace. From there, there's a handful of tools that you can use. The plugin spy, menu spy are pretty handy. If you have a view in the foreground in your Eclipse IDE and you hit Shift-Alt-F1, it will open up a dialog box that will tell you where this particular thing is implemented in the code. So you could click on the name of a class in that pop-up and it will open it up in your Eclipse instance, and you can browse that code that actually implements the view that's on top. This works for preferences dialogues and all sorts of other things. So actually the plugin selection spy is shown over here on the right side. Again, those are all clickable links. If you click on them, it actually opens them. You can drop breakpoints into them and then run Eclipse right from your Eclipse. Again, gets a little bit weird, but you can actually debug Eclipse from Eclipse and then hit breakpoints when that view comes to the top and walk through the code and find out how things are implemented. If there's something that's not working right, if you can find the view that implements it, walk through the execution of that view, you may find out where that odd behavior is occurring. I'm not going to suggest that it's easy, but frankly, the Eclipse development team has gone to amazing lengths to make it as easy as possible to do this. You can also find errors in your instance if you look at the error log. If you just open up the error log view, you'll probably, you know, if you've had a specific problem, some problem that's appeared in error dialog or something, you can find the stack traces for those errors, and from here you can find things like in this particular error, there is reference to the file system structure provider. That might be a good place to start looking for where this error occurred. You know, null pointer exceptions are, you know, relatively easy to hunt down. You can also put breakpoints in Eclipse to have it stop on breakpoints and all sorts of things. So you can run Eclipse from Eclipse. Olivier is going to show this in just a second. And then again, of course, you can debug. So again, it becomes a little bit weird, but from your Eclipse development environment, you can launch another Eclipse IDE, and you can debug one from the other. You can also debug Eclipse running itself, but that just gets weird. You know, now imagine the people who implement the debugger. They have to debug Eclipse, debugging Eclipse, right? All very possible, very weird, but it's actually really cool. Again, if you launch Eclipse, you launch Java in debug mode, you can actually attach to your running Eclipse instance and have Eclipse debugging, the running Eclipse debugging itself. Anyway, again, it's a bit of a, you know, even two monitors help, keeping them separate. Anyway, if you open up the plugins view, there it gives you a list of all the plugins that are in. So if you follow my instructions and you're just using the integration build, it will basically be all the plugins in your Eclipse instance. And you can just click on one of them and say, import this as a project from repository. So by default, the integration builds from the Eclipse project, the Eclipse IDE for committers, Eclipse committers, has all of the source code in it, but you can't edit it. If you want to edit it, you need to actually import a project with that code. And this option will actually go to the Git repo, pull in the code for either the version that you actually have, or you can say, just give me the version from master. And it will clone your Git repo and open up that, or add that project to your workspace, and you can start modifying that code. And then it's Git. Actually, there's a configuration for Gerrit. You need to understand Gerrit for some projects, and then push your request up to Gerrit, and the project team will look at it. I have 2 minutes. Right, you're good. So there's a notion here that I've been kind of stepping around, notion of a target platform. By default, again, if you're using one of those integration builds, the target platform is the running Eclipse instance that you're playing in. And Eclipse IDE automatically knows how to use itself to debug itself. But you can actually use Eclipse, an Eclipse instance, to work on a different version of Eclipse. Right, so you can use the current version of Eclipse to work on the next version of Eclipse IDE, or a very old version of it. And that's all done through target platforms. And you can also, with a target platform, you can debug plugins and work on plugins that you don't have installed in your current environment. I'm just mentioning this. This is something that's interesting that you might want to investigate more. Like once you get more sophisticated with this, understanding target platforms is important. And there's some tools to help you define target platforms. And I'm going to, again, leave that as an exercise for the reader. There's also a notion of API baselines. So the idea is every Eclipse version defines a set of APIs that you can use to write your own plugins, or again, if you're modifying somebody else's plugins, those plugins still have to implement use a particular API. Based on a target platform, you can confirm that your code will run on particular versions of Eclipse. That's fundamentally the reason why we do this. And again, I just point this out because you're going to run into this while you're working, and it's just an exercise for the reader. It's also described in the How to Contribute guide. Gerrit code review is what many of our projects use. Some of our projects use GitHub to do pull requests. Many of our projects use Gerrit. Gerrit is a code review system. It was implemented originally for Android. They still use it today, as far as I'm aware. It's pretty powerful, but it does require that you set up an account to use it. One of the things Gerrit will only allow you to push, it allows you to push to basically to a Git repository that you might not otherwise be able to push to. And it gives the committers the opportunity to review that commit that you've pushed before pulling it into the main line. So Olivier, I think, might show a few seconds of Gerrit configuration. Git commits, when you do push a Git commit, we need you to use your email address that you used when you created your Eclipse Foundation account, the one that you used to sign your Eclipse contributor agreement. Projects will have a requirement for how you structure a comment. Listen to that. Change ID is something that Gerrit will incorporate. If you have multiple authors working on something, if you do also buys in the footer, those people will get credited. Again, if you're a contributor, not a committer, we need you to do a signed off by, which basically is a second agreement or confirming that you understand the terms of the DCO that's included in the Eclipse contributor agreement. So with that, I'm going to turn it over to Olivier, and he is going to demonstrate.
So let's switch from the Canadian accent to the French accent.
What do you mean?
Nothing. Okay, so I will switch to my Eclipse, and first of all, I will show you how to use, for instance, the plugin spy to find where a bug can be fixed. I will just take a standard preference dialog. Here you have this view with the general preferences for your IDE, and if you want to know, just assume that there is a bug here or you want to change something. And if you open the plugin spy, you will get, as Wayne said, the name of the class where you can see the code. So, that's very cool. Maybe I will have to restart. Okay. This is the demo effect. Okay. Yeah, no problem. I'll restart it. Anyway. Okay. And you will get the code, and you can put a breakpoint and launch another Eclipse with it. As you can see, Eclipse is starting very, very fast now. Okay. So, okay. So let's go. I open this one. What is this? IDE, it cannot find it. Okay, I know why. This is a problem of target platform. This is interesting. I must use my target platform here. Okay, my running platform. This is a good example of what we can do every day. So I will open it now. Sorry for that. I will open this one. Okay. So that must load it. I didn't check that I changed the target platform. It's loading. Okay, sorry for that. So the code appears just behind, so you can close the preferences, and you can put a breakpoint here, and if you want, you can launch another Eclipse, and you will get another instance. I hope I launch it with the debug, I think so. And when you open the preferences, what is it? Yes, okay. No problem. So it will open the other one. Okay. When you open the preferences, you just enter in the debugger and you can start to debug. So of course, you are only in the class representation from the running platform in this example. This is not the Java code directly. So if you need to change the code, you must import the package, the plugin, as Wayne said before. And if you want to know where is it exactly located, in which plugin, it was written with the Alt-Shift F1, but you can also search for the class. If you search for this class, you will get the name of the package here, which is Eclipse IDE. So you can import this package, this plugin, you can change it, and then you can test again using the instance in your workspace rather than the instance of the plugin in your target platform. So that was for testing Eclipse with another Eclipse. And what I would like to show you now is how the process to fix a bug actually. So I selected a bug that is this one. This is really boring. This is a bug where we cannot display some spice for E4 with the JDK 11. It works with JDK 8, but with JDK 11 it doesn't work. And basically it's if I open this one, this is a bundle spy, and the bundle spy cannot be displayed. There should be a content here, but unfortunately it's not displayed, while this one is okay, the model spy is open, it's okay. So, and the problem is that if I launch another Eclipse, I think it's not launched, I will launch the other one, this one. It's already launched. Oh yes, okay, sorry, it's already launched. This one, it's this one, or this one, I don't remember. I will close this one, yeah, I will launch it again. If we launch another Eclipse, you will see that it's open, it works. So that's really tricky to fix, because in this case, I cannot debug the bundle spy directly because I cannot put a breakpoint. That should work now with this instance. So, of course, this may be difficult to find how to fix that, because we cannot debug directly. But as an E4 spice developer, I know that there was some tricky dependency problems with a JAVAX annotation package. Basically, when you have an E4 view that is not displayed, it means that the post-construct method is not called, and the result is that the view is empty. So this is the problem to solve, is basically to change and to check all the dependencies we have in the bundles. And I didn't mention it, but it also failed for CSS editors, Scratchpad editors, and so on. So I already fixed the bug before. I can show you what was, not in detail, but why not? I can show you what is. Excuse me? Yeah. I just cloned the spice project, of course, and it's already installed in this case. Yeah, that's right. And basically, if we have a look on what has been fixed, this is without showing all the details. I just checked all the manifest file, and I just set the correct dependencies to JAVAX annotation, because I don't know why, but in JDK 11, the JAVAX annotation package is not the same used than in JDK 8. Yeah, sure. For this one, there was the modification is to say you must use JAVAX annotation here, okay? And with this version, with 1.2.0, and by default it was not this version. I can switch to, I can go to this one anyway. Excuse me? It works for JDK 8, 9, 10, but 11 no.
So no, the fix.
Ah, the fix, yes. The fix will work for all. Oh, sorry, it already exists, so I must create a new branch. No, okay, I will create a branch here. That will be easier. Okay, so if I take, for instance, the bundle spy, the manifest, in this one, in the dependencies, there is no JAVAX annotation, so this is a mistake. And if I take the CSS spy, I think in this one there was a problem. Here. The JAVAX annotation is not mentioned, I think, and it must be set explicitly. Anyway, we'll not enter in details of this, the fix of this bug, because when I fixed it, also I found that there was problems with the build. So, because now if I want to test this, I must build totally all the spies, create the update site and install it in a very new Eclipse install, because I cannot debug it. If I launch it anyway, it will work, but so I just build the spies again. To build the spies, there is, so this is where I just cloned the repository, and there was a POM XML file like in all the Eclipse projects. Just launch Maven clean install, and you get in the build, usually the build folder, you get a project containing the result of the build. Then I install this in another Eclipse, and when you launch it, you see that it works. So what we have to do after that is to push this commit to Gerrit directly. So it has been already done, and it has updated automatically the bugs here, entry with a Gerrit change. Just a couple of words about Gerrit. You must have on your Git repository, there is a way to configure your Gerrit account, because if you clone the repository, sorry, it will be set only with git remote push URL that is not based on Gerrit. So there is a specific menu here, Gerrit configuration, that must be used to enter your own account, and that will change the Gerrit, the push URL for your commit to an SSH with your name with the Gerrit account. So when you do that, your commit will be treated by Gerrit, and it will be mentioned in the bug. So at the end of the bug, you can see the review, and this review has to be accepted by a committer. So I'm not connected on it. I'll connect. Okay, so you can see in the Gerrit what has been changed, what you can comment if you want. Even if you are not a committer, you can access to any review in Gerrit, and you can, for instance, if you go to all open changes, you can see that there are a lot of changes that has been provided in Gerrit, and you can just use them. It's also possible to fetch a Gerrit review in your local workspace just so as to test it and to check if it's working. And it's possible to push again on Gerrit. Even if you are not committer, you can push something on Gerrit. This is important to understand. You do not need to be committer. Committer only accept the patches, but anybody can contribute. So if I come back to my changes, this one. So I test it on my other Eclipse, and because I'm a committer on this project, I've got a code review +2 here, and so if I click on it, that will be directly merged on the master of the project. So as you can see, also the Gerrit review has verified that everything is okay, and Jenkins has launched a build using the same Maven POM file that I used locally to test before, and then it has control that everything is okay. Because maybe I forgot to fetch something or to rebase something. Maybe I'm late when I built locally. So if I submit my change, that will be merged in master. And as you can see, there was a message here. So that will close the review. And in the bug, you will get, the bug is mentioned here. You will get the information that it has been closed. And then we can fix the bug after that. Unfortunately, I would say, this project is built automatically by Jenkins when now it's delivered on the master branch, and the Eclipse marketplace will be automatically updated with this project, because the URL of the spies is exactly the build of the master branch of the spies. So when everything will be launched, when everything will be built, we'll get a new version that will work on JDK 11, probably in 1 hour or something like this. So that will be fixed and it's okay. So, and as I said in the bug, I must reload it because it has not been updated. It's okay? Yeah, it has been merged and that's finished. So what you must understand is that everybody can contribute. Only you can open bugs. That's the first step. But after you can try to play with this system, and that's really fun and exciting to fix bugs, because you can learn how to work with a huge software, open source software like this. And you will see that when you compare with some companies, I used to work with a lot of different companies, and that's very interesting to see that Eclipse, and for instance, the commit history in the remote repository is very clean when you compare it to other companies, because often people are merging everything everywhere, and it's really a mess in their repositories. Just to finish, and because I have only 2 minutes, left. There is also, yes, we provide also a cheat sheet of, it will be added in the talk. There will be a PDF that will explain the different steps you can have to do. For instance, the Gerrit configuration, some cases when you are late on the master, regarding to the master branch, if you are late, how you can rebase and so on. And of course, if you have any question, feel free to ask us or to ask other committers that knows this process. But you must not be afraid of that. You must try it, and there is no problem. If you commit something, if you push something, it will be reviewed by a committer. So you will break nothing anyway. So that's it. I don't know if you have any question. I think it's finished. We have 1 minute more. Yes. No, for this case, so the question was, should we increase the version of the manifest files or the version of the product? For this one, we do not change the version because it's updated on the update site, and the feature is updated with the timestamp, so that's okay. If our tool is a specific project that is not included in the platform directly, you must install it. So it's not maybe managed exactly as the other one. Maybe any other question?
Great. Well, thank you for your attention. It's hard to do this justice in 35 minutes, but yeah. I think you did a fantastic job. I hope that you taken away that we believe this. This is easy. It's not easy, but it's certainly possible for everybody to contribute. The Gerrit stuff, we kind of glossed over that. There are step-by-step instructions on the website for how to do that. I'm not sure the the guides. I don't think we put,
Yeah,
included that in the guide.
I will put it on the,
Okay.
on the talk. Yeah.
All right. So the information's all out there. If you do have questions, you know, the best thing to do is you can ask questions on a Bugzilla record if one exists already. Most of our projects have a mailing list, which you are perfectly allowed to use. If you go to eclipse.org/forums/eclipse.platform, that's a good place to ask questions related to the platform. If you're not sure, there's a eclipse.org/forums/eclipse.newcomer, where you can ask help as a newbie, and the people who monitor that list will set you in the right direction. Okay. Anyway, yeah, if you have any questions, I'm trying to make myself obvious out in the hallway. Please ask. Olivier's walking around too. Please feel free to ask, and we hope you enjoy the rest of the conference. Thank you.
Bye.